Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. It's Krista from Krista Irene Art, and today I'm going to be doing an art journal page of figures. So I am going to walk you through the process that I use for creating figures in my art journal. So I hope you join me and follow along. I just wanted to show you that I'm using a limited color palette for the gestural figures. I do have some iridescent gold from Golden and some just folk art glitter glue and gloss medium to dilute the paint when I'm putting it on the paper. I have a stencil and parchment paper that I use for mixing my paints. I am using an art journal specific for painting on, but you can use an art journal, a piece of watercolor paper, canvas, whatever you want to use.
Usually before I start figure drawing, I look at books for reference and inspiration. This is one of my favorite books. It's Fashion Illustration by Anna Kipper, if I'm saying her name right, full of beautiful images, examples of fashion illustration, and tips and tricks on proper proportions. So the goal isn't to draw exactly like another artist or someone that you really admire. It's really just to create your own artwork, but use other artists as inspiration. That's personally what I like to do. So here I'm just putting the paint on paper and creating sort of a gestural shape using a neutral color palette to see what comes out. What I like about the art journal is that I could easily, if I don't like the shape, or if I think the head is too big, or if I'm making mistakes, I could paint over it. So again, it's just a loose drawings, not worried about mistakes, not worried about perfect proportions, but proper proportions. So it at least looks like a figure when it's completed. So to prevent my painting from looking flat and to add some textures and layers to it, I'm using a gloss medium with white to go over some areas that I think need to be highlighted. And then I'm just going in again and drawing another figure. I'm going to have 5 figures on this art journal. And again, if the head is too big, which it looks too big, I go in around with some white and try to adjust the shape of it. The white, the gloss, it adds texture and depth. I'm going to be adding some colored pencil at the end to give it even more of a textured look. And one of the things I like about having an art journal is, you know what, you just keep going. Even if you think, I'm not sure how this looks, which is what I'm thinking at this point with this particular figure. I just keep going because I know that I can just play around with it and make it work. So I skip over it and I move on to the next one. I know I'm going to come back to that other one because it's just looking a little large compared to the other ones. So now I know I'm in the flow here and I'm just going back over that one because it wasn't working out. And I'm not even thinking here. And I grab the white and I go over it because I know that shape wasn't correct. And now I just go with the flow and grab a little gray and I'm going into the background and seeing what I can do. My favorite part about painting is when you get into the zone and you're not even thinking anymore and you're just picking up paint and putting it on the paper and you're really enjoying it. So this is the point where I start really just going with the flow and not even thinking when I'm painting. I'm going for a real fashion type pose with this one with her arms crossed over her body. Again, when you're doing this, you just sort of just throw it on there and know that you can, the joy of painting, you can fix it. Um, you can change it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And again, if you're focused on gestural drawings, the best thing you can do for yourself is work quickly and try to get the paint on the paper and just see what you can come up with, knowing that, you know what, sometimes mistakes look good. So I'm adding pencil and outlining the shapes of the figures just to get them stand out a bit more. I think pencil marks are a great way to add a little additional creativity to your artwork and areas that are eye-catching and help the painting stand out a bit more. I'm going to be adding a lot of different elements here. I'm going to be using my stencil. I'm going to be adding some sparkles. I'm just really enjoying the process now that I have my figures sort of mapped out. Now I'm going in and I'm adding areas of light to the figures just to accentuate the highlights and also accentuate the shadows. So to create a little additional depth and make those figures stand out a bit more. The last thing you want when you're painting is just to have a monotone painting, and that's where light and shadow come into play. I really like using stencils on my paintings, so I'm using some iridescent gold and I'm just gently tapping on the painting to get some of the texture on there without covering the whole painting. So the last piece of this painting, I added some sparkles to it. My video didn't work out for that, but I added some sparkles to each figure. And now I'm going in and I'm using some colored pencil to just highlight different parts of each figure. I'm using some purples and some pinks just to add a little more depth and texture to the painting.